So the first person we have to speak is Mr. Xavier Campos. Mr. Campos, please come on up. Mr. Campos is, of course, our District 5 City Council member.
Thank you. So first of all, one, D5 United, thank you for having this forum. I think it's important to have discussion on issues that are affecting our community, and especially issues of safety. And this last, I think it started in May, when people start blowing off fireworks. I know that was something very real and very live that concerns us. Before I get into some of my opening comments, please excuse me. My dad's brothers came all the way from South Texas to visit him, and tonight's their last night. We're having a family deal right after this, so I won't be staying for this. I haven't seen them in a long time, so I'd like to go and spend a little bit of time with them. But let me just go on, and hopefully this helps frame the discussion. 2.5 years ago, our city council made some decisions, made some choices that it didn't have to make. There were options that we could have chosen to make sure that we didn't sacrifice public safety in order to deal with the budget issues that we have. And the budget issues are real. There's no doubt about it, the budget issues are real. But some of the decisions our council made forced a reduction in police officers and a reduction in men and women on fire apparatuses, fire rigs, and has forced brownouts at some of our firehouses. Those have consequences. So I think what we've seen over the last couple of years, and actually even more, I think since we stopped doing the fireworks display at Discovery Park, I think folks have taken it into their own hands to celebrate. And to me, that's an easy fix. We have some of the richest companies in this valley, and we can ask them to fund Christmas in the Park, which is an icon, and there's no doubt about that should be a priority. But celebrating our country's birthday and independence is another priority, what we also should be doing. And if you could put 150 to 200,000 folks downtown away from doing their own fireworks show, that helps. And I heard a statistic that when we were doing those celebrations, some of the volume calls on 4th of July, they were lower. They were lower than they are now. So we have dedicated folks from our public safety departments, including our sheriff's department, which is another county public safety department, here to brainstorm with you, to listen to you. But please, at least for San Jose, if there's arrows thrown, throw them at me. Because I am elected by you to make sure that we are doing what we need to do to make sure that you're going to be safe out in your community. And you can look at my record. My record has always been public safety first. We just got to get the rest of the council to look at, how low can we go, in terms of sacrificing what the city has chosen to sacrifice to keep our neighborhoods safe. So I hope that helps frame some of the discussion. And with that, if you have any questions or even comments, Diego from my staff will be here, and let's have a fruitful discussion. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Campos. Okay, so I just want to run through our agenda tonight. We have three different speakers. We have one from the fire department, and a speaker from the police department, as well as a speaker from the Santa Clara County Sheriff's Department. Our first speaker is, of course, the fire department, so that you can ask your questions on fireworks. Over July 4th weekend, there were a lot of complaints about illegal fireworks, and so that's why we decided to have the firefighters come up first. This is Mr. William McDonald. He is the fire chief for San Jose.
Hi, everybody. My name is Willie McDonald. I'm the city's fire chief. I'm happy to be here. I think I want to give a little bit of background about the department, then I'll talk about what I know that you all wanted to talk about, and that's the fireworks that we see in our community, and fireworks we see in our community, and the city's perspective and response to those fireworks. So let me first start with the department. But like you will hear from all of the folks that are here tonight, probably the most dedicated employees that I've ever seen in the community, and are very committed to providing high-level services to this community. The issue of fireworks, though, is one that we grapple with as a fire department every year. And we have fewer resources that I would like to have for this community, but that's really not the whole answer, in my view. Okay. Am I getting closer to that? Okay. So the issue of fireworks is something that this department has been considering and concerned about and dealing with for the past several years. And over the last 2 or 3 years, what we've tried to do is we've tried to look at ways where we can go out, have a high presence in the community, make sure that people know ahead of time the dangers of the fireworks, the concerns that we have about them in terms of what the dangers are to be to yourself, to your neighbors, to others that are around you, and also to try to, if we can, curtail what we see out in the community as a department. In my view, that has had very limited effect on the proliferation of fireworks that you see here in the community, both on the 4th of July, before the 4th of July, after the 4th of July, and other parts of the year. This year, our presence in the community was, as it is every year, we staff up our organization so that we can have as many people out in the community as we possibly can. The stance from the department is this: fireworks are illegal. We think that all fireworks are unsafe in our community. It is clearly, in my view, an issue where you will have someone either injured, someone's eye poked out, someone have some kind of an injury to them, or worse than that, a neighbor or someone they're around. In terms of the fire danger, you don't have to look far to the hills here to see the concerns that we have here, the neighbor's roof, the neighbor's backyard, whatever it may be. So in the fire department's perspective, fireworks are illegal and people should not use them. We try to use our education to share that with them. In my view, though, the circumstances that we have here and what's been going on in the community over the last couple of years, that's not really going to be that effective in terms of trying to get the comfort level that you all have of the safety for you and your families and your neighborhoods. That's not going to be enough. So I could stand here and say to you, none of the agencies that you're going to hear from tonight have enough people to use the enforcement arm of our agency to go out and police, if you will, each one of the neighborhoods and deal with those issues. From a safety perspective, and safety is not only for the community but also for our folks, that won't work in my view. Depending upon the number of people that we see that are using fireworks, depending upon the size of the crowd, the mood of the crowd, the number of crowds that there may be, the kind of organization that someone may have when it relates to fireworks, it just isn't safe for our folks to try to wade into some of these groups on a day in and day out basis to try to deal with it on an enforcement issue. But it's also probably not safe for our police department to do it. And so I don't believe that that's the answer. From a perspective of some of the things that we see in the community, whether it be safe and sane fireworks or otherwise fireworks, also unsafe for handling in some cases and storage of those by our folks or at our facilities. So it is the consideration of the fire department and where we are going as a city, in my view, is our proposal to our organization, starting with our city council. Each of our council members has probably talked to me or some member of the department over the last couple of years, whether it's this year or different years, but several this years, about the concerns in their districts. But you have to keep in mind that not everybody feels that fireworks are a concern or a problem, or some people in the community feel like they have a right to, for whatever reason, whether it's been that they feel as though we haven't stopped them, or we haven't had the resources to stop them, or if for whatever reason they want to do it and they're going to do it. And so we're in a situation where now I think there needs to be an ability for the city council, our city's mayor, city manager's office, our city attorney's office, the fire department, the police department, and the community to have a comprehensive discussion about the actual landscape and the situation here in the city of San Jose that we have. I think many of us can tell stories about different neighborhoods. Many of us can tell about different places where we've seen or where we know that they're doing fireworks. I received this year several emails or notices from different people from school districts to neighborhoods that knew there was going to be an event somewhere in their neighborhood, in some open area, that fireworks are every year. Different parks, different lakes, different reservoirs, different places. So in my view, what needs to happen and what I'm proposing and the department will be proposing through the city manager's office and council's office is that we start working on this like right now, like in January, and start talking about what is it that we need to do as a city, as an organization, consistently, the level of priority, the level of effort, how we're going to go about doing it, and what we're going to do with the community. And in my view, it has to be a joint effort between the city organization, the council, the departments, and the community to try to solve what the issues are. I think that what needs to happen for us as well is it can't be just enforcement. It can't be a big presence one night or a couple of nights so that you can see us all and then we just drive you to Friday or Saturday or the Tuesday or Wednesday before. What I think we need to do is we need to look at community education. We need to look at early notification of the laws and regulations that exist around fireworks here in this community. We need to provide outlets for people other than doing it themselves. Try to find ways that we can do that. We need a lot of help from the community. And this is a community concern as much as it is a city concern. And so we need a lot of help from the community. And I'm not asking people to, to point to your neighbor and say, that's the person that's doing it. But we need the help to help us provide the kind of support for your neighborhoods that will help reduce the number and the activity level and the crowd size and the preponderance of fireworks that we have in our communities. I think we need to follow that up with our presence, and I think that we need to also follow it up with enforcement. So that's what I'm proposing for the department. I know you guys are concerned about it. We're concerned about it. We have a zero tolerance, but the reality is we just don't have the ability to do it without the assistance and support of all the other departments of council and you. And so that's where the department is. We've been talking about it for the last 2 months. We've been sharing our concerns with our city manager's office and our police department. We hope that we will be able to get that comprehensive discussion where we can invite you all in to help us with that. And in the next year that we, in maybe February, March, April, and May, start having some activities that are visible and known in our community so that we can start to see the reduction of fireworks in our community. I don't think it's a one-year solution. I think it's a multi-year because I think for a while people are not going to think perhaps that we're serious or that we're really going to stick with what our plans are. But we got to start somewhere, and we can't do it as a city organization by ourselves. We're going to need your help, we're going to need your input, and we're going to need your support to do it. So that's where the fire department is. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have or tell you anything else that you want to know about the department. Yes.
First of all, thank you to all of our public safety personnel that we know have other higher priority calls, night of the 4th of July. And so we do have an appreciation that you're not going to be able to make it to our pleas about fireworks and those cherry bombs and those whatevers are going off that are so horribly dangerous to everyone. However, what we see in other communities, and I appreciate the fact that you're looking to do some proactive and preventative measures, is we see some really primitive messaging going out to the communities, such as sandwich boards on the sidewalks, marquees at the shopping centers getting the messaging out. And I know that you say that you hope to do some things for 2014. When will you have a concrete plan? What can you really commit to help us?
Well, I would like to say that I am going to do that. But some of you know that I will be here in 2014. So
you collectively.
But our acting fire chief and I have been on the forefront of this issue within our department since before the 4th of July back in May when we were trying to figure out what to do. And I think the police department will share with you that our efforts in the past have been to team up police and fire together on that night and send them out together. But I expect that you will see from the city, not just the fire department, a cooperative and a collaborative effort amongst all the departments with the direction of the council to ensure that we're imposing and we're doing the things that they support and they want us to do. They can't just support them with their words. They got to support them with their actions and their dollars. And we got to be able to do that, and either it's their dollars or it's the reprioritization of some other activities so that we can make sure that we're doing the things that our community expects and sees.
This lady's already touched on it, but the county of Santa Clara should be able to put, San Jose's the big dog. The county should be able to put pressure on places like Johor. You could just go up north. You'd have to bring all the adjoining counties into it. It won't be just a one city effort.
Yes, and actually the sheriff's here, and we'll be able to share some information about that.
I'm sure you consider it with all due respect.
Right, but I think that we have some responsibility here as a city organization to try to take the actions with our community.
The dollar sign speaks loud.
Sorry?
The dollar sign speaks real loud.
I think though, and I don't want to suggest to you that there hasn't been a willingness to spend dollars on public safety here. There has been. What I think though that is, we decide right now what the priorities are for the fire department. The police department decides what the priorities are for the police department. Now, we certainly make recommendations to our council. But I think on an issue like this, particularly that it's grown to this level in our community, I really think that it needs to be from the top down, the council saying this is a priority for this, and this is how we're going to address it. And they need to do that with our recommendations. We can't expect our council just to come up with what the answers are. We need to provide them with good background information about what we can and can't do, what happens if we take resources away from here and put them there, all those kinds of things, so that there can be a concerted effort and priority level placed on this issue.
Earlier you noted that the community, it's a community concern. And so I was wondering if, I know we have a gang task force, and I almost feel like there has to be a fireworks task force where the community is involved to help identify solutions, to help support, the need that you see to the council. Otherwise, we're entirely dependent on whether the council will choose this as a priority. So do you think it's realistic that there could be a push for, I don't know if it's a task force, a committee that includes the community to help find solutions and implement them before next year?
I don't know the answer to that at this point. I think, though, that that's certainly an option that can be considered, but I think that I think the development has to come from some really comprehensive discussions at the council level with the community in order to come up with the different options that we think will work here and then be able to support this. Yes, sir.
I was wondering, why are we waiting until 2014? New Year's is coming up, and it's going to be the same thing all over again. And it seems like there was many people called in, and they said they couldn't do anything about it. There was nobody arrested. There was nothing put in the paper about it or anything. You would think just accidentally somebody could have found somebody that was shooting off fireworks illegal.
You're right, sir. And I was thinking about 4th of July, but you're right. We've been talking about it in the department for at least a couple of months on how we can get ahead of the issue. But I believe it's a community issue, not you community, but I mean more than the fire department issue, that we need, I believe, an integrated and a comprehensive approach to it from all of our departments. And again, I think I don't tell the police department what their priorities are, and they don't tell us what our priorities are. But I think our council can provide that level of direction for us and can provide us with the support that we need to try to deal with this issue to the satisfaction of our community. And we're not waiting in the fire department. I'm just suggesting that we need to get ahead of it several months in advance.
There was fireworks on the street before I came over here tonight.
Wow.
Yes, sir.
Question is, kind of different related, but bullets and gunfire and fireworks, aren't they kind of, well, you put bullets and fireworks together as the same thing or not? You get fired, they get burned.
Right, so give me a little more.
That's not.
But what you're asking me, I'm
I'm
not.
trying to say, I'm not starting a fire, I'm making a big boom. What do I do about it? What does the community do to protect themselves from fire and falling bullets? We need these guys over here with the badges and the guns, you're gonna put the fire out, or pick up the body. They need to put the boom out of the question. So we need to get a work out of this somehow. We need to work together.
Right, we need to work together. I think that's what I'm getting at. And, the police department's stretched, but that's not the answer that you're looking for.
They got some kind of sound thing.
Oh, they can find bullets. They can find guys who are shooting guns. They can do that.
How do we stop this stuff?
I think, though, that there's not enough of us to do it through enforcement alone.
No.
So I think that there has to be much more to it than just more presence, even on the days when we know it's going to be. I think that we got to get way ahead of it, and start the activities with education and outreach and acknowledgement of these.
Just tell the lady with the gun to put it up and the guy with the fire to put it out.
Right. Yes.
Last question.
I just a comment. In my years, I've been in San Jose forever. I've noticed there's 3 times of the year as far as fireworks. The busy time is the one that just happened, July 4th, New Year's, and Chinese New Year's.
Yeah.
There's a lot.
Right.
So those are 3 times over the course of the year that I noticed the most activity. Just a comment.
Yeah, okay. Folks, thank you for having me here tonight. We've got some other folks from the police department, from the sheriff's office, and I'll hang around if you have some questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. McDonald. He is our San Jose Fire Police Chief, or Fire Chief. Thank you. I just want to make a few announcements on who is here today. I want to thank our County Sheriff, Lori Smith, for being here. Also with the County Sheriff's Department, we have Captain Rick Sung. And Lieutenant Drew Vasquez. And from the San Jose Police Department, we have speaking next the Acting Deputy Chief, Jeff Morazic.
Welcome.
Thank you. Well, good evening, and thank you for having us out today. Really, Juan put this together for us. Juan sent me an email today with 9 questions that he got from his public safety survey. So what I'll do is I'll go over those particular 9 questions, and we can certainly ask some questions when we are finished. Let me just start off with thank you, Willie, for that presentation on fireworks. And just in general, many of the problems that we have are quality of life issues. And I hear it over and over. And it's very concerning, especially when it happens in your neighborhood, like fireworks. It becomes that, you feel like it's a war zone when that stuff is landed on your house or near your house. It's dangerous. It can put eyes out. It can hurt people. Certainly it's a concern. Prostitution is another huge issue that we have. It's visible out there on the street. What are you officers doing about it? What's the plan to be able to deal with that? Property crime, burglaries or auto burglaries are very important, especially when it happens to you. Homelessness, public drunkenness, those are issues that, these people are hanging out in my front yard or throwing trash in my front yard. It's happening over and over. Some of the other major crimes that you're working on, like robberies or sexual assaults or gang crime, don't happen to me, but I'm concerned about these quality of life issues. So let me just address those first before I get into these questions. And understand that for public safety, both police and fire, we treat problems as they come in. We have limited staffing. And I won't go into the details. It's already pretty clear. Everyone is aware how understaffed we are at San Jose, the San Jose Fire Department and the San Jose Police Department. Some of the lowest staffing in the nation. We have just under 900 officers that are able-bodied in the city of San Jose. And if it's per capita, which we look at, and the average is somewhere around the high teens, and some cities over 0.20, we're around that we're at like 0.9, about half of that. So we really should be probably about twice the size that we are. And while that's not what you want to hear, it still, nevertheless, is a fact. So we treat these calls as they come on, we triage them, just like, and if you can imagine an emergency room. It's important to you when you have a broken arm and you go in the emergency room and your child is injured, let's say, with that broken arm, and you want to get that child treatment right away. And you got there early and you want this service. But what happens is they wheel someone in that has a traffic accident. And actually they have some internal injuries, right? Some injured spleen. And that individual goes in front of you. And you go, okay, well, I'm sitting there waiting. And then someone else comes in with some other serious injury or a heart issue. Well, they go in front of you. So even though you've come in early with your issue, you end up having to wait because the doctor's office triages based on the amount of calls, patients that are in there, and the amount of doctors that they have. And we do the same thing in public safety. Really what we do is we prioritize calls as they come in. And when these calls come in that have to do with danger to persons, actually persons are actually in danger. So if someone is actively been assaulted or getting assaulted, an activity like that puts someone's life in danger, that's the first priority that we go to. So oftentimes our resources get stuck handling those priorities. And you will wait for quite a while for a call that's property-based, really where nobody is directly in danger, but it's still an issue. And it doesn't mean that we don't care about it, or we are not concerned with it, or that it does not disgust us that it happens in our city and that we want to see it stopped. We don't believe that you should have to live with a firework issue, or live with a prostitution issue, or have someone burglarize your stuff. So don't misunderstand the fact of our slow response. It's just that we have to triage and we have to make a decision about where do we go first. And we're going to go to that spot where somebody's actually injured first. So a lot of these questions that come up with are important, and I know there are concerns to you. A lot of times the answer is the same, and I'll keep repeating myself and saying, I wish we could get to that, but understand that a lot of times we are handling a violent crime first with the low staffing that we have. And we continue to hire, and we think that staffing issue is going to get better in the future, but it is what it is. And so we do our best with the resources that we have. Let me move into the questions right now. Everybody hear me all right in the back? Yes. Okay. First question is, what do police see as the public safety concerns? Our concerns, like I talked about, is really the preservation of life first and property second. So not to repeat myself, but that is how we triage our calls. The preservation of life, and we categorize our calls. Our call takers will categorize them and send them out based on really that concept. Preservation of life first, property second. So if you kind of keep that in mind when you make a call, you realize, okay, where am I on that scale of police response? Second question, what will it take for the city, the police, to take definitive stands against the use of illegal fireworks? Well, thank you, Chief McDonald, for addressing that already. Certainly it's a concern for us. I know that it doesn't make the news like this gentleman in the third row mentioned earlier, but we did make 2 large arrests with really the sales of fireworks. And we did that with working not with Arlo staff, but with the community that called and said, hey, over Blossom Hill and Snell, there's a huge truck and they're selling not the safe and sane fireworks that are illegal in Gilroy, like you mentioned. It might be a good idea to put some pressure on not selling those safe and sane fireworks, but really the more dangerous ones, the mortar fire, the stuff that you can't even go buy in Gilroy, that you have to go elsewhere, go to Nevada to purchase. Well, they're selling them out of huge trucks, and we confiscated we made 2 cases and large batches of fireworks. Really, that activity with being low staffed, going out and attacking that, probably prevented so much more fireworks that you never saw, but that's not going to make the news. What's going to make the news is really what you do see. So some of that stuff was prevented on the front end. It's a concern for us. We'll continue to work on it, but like Chief McDonald said, our staffing is very limited, especially on days like 4th of July and New Year's Eve. We have so many other calls going on at that particular time. It's more difficult to attack those firework calls. Doesn't mean it's not important to us, and we shouldn't come up with plans to continue to come up with innovative ideas, which I think on the front end, preventing some of those sales in other cities, and really attacking information on the internet and on Craigslist about who's selling this dangerous, illegal fireworks that are airborne, that are causing probably more fires than the safe fireworks. So it is a priority for us. Third question, what does the city plan to do to increase our police force? It is true that we have diminished staffing within the last 3 to 4 years. We are hiring 2 academies a year. As fast as we can hire people, we are hiring. So we have, actually the good news is, we have a recruit class that was in the news when they went to the academy a while back. 3 to 4 years, about 4 years ago, was our last large recruit class. They are set to be released from the FTO program and actually work as solo beat officers, which they love because they get rid of their FTO that's telling them what to do in the passenger seat, and they get to go drive that car by themselves for the first time. The first batch will come out August 4th. We have 40 recruits that will be coming out, so that's a big bonus for us. So we expect that to happen twice a year. And we have an academy that's graduating shortly. When they'll go into FTO. We expect them to get released from the FTO program in January. Now we're hiring just as fast as we can. We use about 20% of our police department as field training officers, and that we're really maxing out. We're hiring as fast as we can. So the city's committed to continue to hire officers. Do you feel the public safety personnel are culturally competent? We're fortunate here in California that I think that we are probably one of the most culturally competent departments in the nation. We respect our diversity. Our diversity is our strength. Different ethnicities, alternate lifestyles, religious beliefs, disabilities. The thing is that do we think that we're perfect? No, we can always become better, and we can and continually training is what we need to do to continually train on being culturally diverse and understanding different ethnicities and traditions, and to be able to provide us the best customer service that we can provide. So that's something that we think we're very good at, but we shouldn't just stop there. We should continue to try to attain a higher level. What can residents do to have motorists slow down while driving in neighbors, should be neighborhoods, and neighbors, come on, Juan, where speed is posted? Most drivers are responsible, but speeding is a selfish act. People do speed through neighborhoods. We have 4 traffic teams, extremely understaffed, with a sergeant and 5 officers per team for the size of the city that we have. We used to have 7 teams, now we're down to 4. One of those teams I am forced to put into patrol 1 week each cycle. So each week I put one traffic team into patrol because I need them to handle the calls for service. If you call 911, that's the most important thing to me. And because we're so understaffed, I have to use them to augment patrol. So really, even though we have 4 teams, effectively, we really only have 3 teams working in the city of San Jose. So I wish our staffing was higher. Doesn't mean that we don't continually look at the highest crash locations, and we utilize technology to put our traffic officers where the injuries are happening. Sometimes you'll say, hey, I'm concerned about my particular street. Someone speeds down my street. We'll take a look at that, and if we get enough complaints, we'll send an officer out there. But as low staffed as we are, we have to say what's responsible for us to do as a police department that's responsible for public safety. It is really to look at what areas are people getting injured. I mean, when are accidents happening, and the most accidents happening and causing injuries, and our low staffing is best put, is most effectively used if we write tickets in those areas, because it's proven the only thing that slows people down is getting a ticket. And so that's really what our plan is with our low-staffed traffic department. Now, that doesn't mean that if you have a traffic complaint, you shouldn't look up sjpd.org under traffic And there is a website that you just type right in what your traffic complaint is. That goes straight to the traffic lieutenant, and that traffic lieutenant assigns it to a traffic team, and they get to it when they can. So that's a way for your specific issues to send that complaint to the traffic unit. If you work with your community, you talk to the rest of the community, and you have an issue around a particular school, the more people you get to fill that thing out and send that in, the more of a red flag pops up, and we say, hey, wait a minute, this is a problem, and so we need to make sure that we deal with it. What should a homeowner do to stay safe? What can we do to help you help us? Home security is a huge issue, and actually ties into the next question, which is, what will it take to improve response time to home alarm incidents? So maybe I'll just combine those two together. What can we do to stay safe? Well, the Neighborhood Watch program is probably the best program that we have to have you stay safe. And if you go to sjpd.org and you look under crime prevention, the Neighborhood Watch program is there. It tells you exactly how to ask for that online, or you can call our crime prevention program, and we'll put a Neighborhood Watch program in place for you so that we can go out there and one of our crime prevention officers will come up and organize that and speak for your neighborhood. Because really, you're as strong as your neighborhood is. There's only so many officers out there, but all your eyes together, working together in your neighborhood and protecting your neighborhood and knowing what each other is doing is extremely powerful. And when you can call and say, hey, I noticed a car in my neighborhood that's suspicious and shouldn't be there, and it's in front of my neighbor's house. Well, guess what? Your neighbor appreciates that. That could be a burglar that's in the back of the house. Call us. Let us know that that's going on. Be aware of what's happening. When you work with your community, these are the things that the crime prevention specialists will teach you in the Neighborhood Watch program, is being good eyes and ears for your neighborhood. That next question that I mentioned was about what will it take to improve response time to home alarm incidents? Well, first of all, 98% of alarms are false. So it's kind of crazy to think of that, but 98% are false. So we only respond and we used to respond to every alarm. Now we respond only to verified alarms, which means that certain alarm companies have the ability to monitor the sound of what's going on. So if they hear glass being broken, or they hear people talking, and then it becomes the call that comes into us that we say, hey, you know what, that one, it goes beyond just an alarm going off. Now we have more evidence that something's actually happening, and we will respond. So it's erroneous to think that, hey, we won't respond to alarms. We do. However, we require just more evidence than just the alarm going off to respond to those. So, I mean, being aware of that as a responsible homeowner, you can look into those particular security programs that have the ability to do that, to be a verified alarm. Now, we don't come up here and we don't say, hey, pick this company over that company because that would be improper. We don't do that, but do that research on your own. What are you doing to improve communications and safety for the citizens of San Jose, and how is that visible to the residents? Chief Escobar, as you may have seen, our acting chief of police, has put out in the news, really, our program, which is called Our City, RCITI. And Our City has many different components, but one of it really is using technology to communicate better with the community, just like this question asks. Using Facebook and Twitter and YouTube. Nextdoor.com is a great website that you can go, that we have a link to on sjpd.org, which really is a virtual neighborhood watch program. It's kind of like a Facebook, but it really is for crime prevention, where and it is powerful, and we put it on our website because we really liked what we saw. It allows you to talk with your neighbors and just gather info. Maybe you can't all make a meeting on a Tuesday at 7. We all have different schedules, but if you go to nextdoor.com, that link that we have on our website, it really will explain how you sign up, and you sign up in individual neighborhoods, so it's not just a huge community, it's just your neighborhood community that you sign up for. And so it's a great resource. So that's another way that we really are trying to improve communications. The chief puts out a Twitter. He calls himself a dinosaur, but he'll come out and he'll Twitter. I don't even know how to Twitter, but the chief of police knows how, and he does it regularly. And he encourages us to do that. It just hasn't worked on me just yet. But we are trying to improve communications the best that we can. Last question, number 9. What are stopgap measures that can possibly be implemented to address the non-emergency issues in the community? As you may have heard, we are hired, well, we do have a proposed program called a community service officer. Other departments do this as well. So it's not a sworn officer, they don't carry a gun. However, we have a proposal to hire 21. That memorandum is going to City Council as we speak. We've just completed the study on that particular program, so Javier and the rest of council that reconvenes in July will take a look at that and either approve it or deny it. Now, my feeling is they will approve it because really it was their idea to begin with. So what that will do is it'll allow us to bring some non-sworn community service officers in that can really deal with those like cold burglaries and some of those issues that don't require, there's no dangers, there's no current danger about a crook being there, but you still get that service if someone come out, they can take fingerprints and they'll take a report. And what that does, really, it frees us up, police officers, sworn officers, to handle some of the more serious calls. So that is one way that we can address those non-emergency issues. 311 obviously is out there as well. Track reports online. You can use the TRAK reports online as well. That they can take the report through a track report online. You can call 311, a non-emergency number as well. So these are some different ways to handle non-emergency numbers. I know I sped through those 9 questions rather quickly, but I'm almost out of my time already, Juan, and I know I want to respect everybody's schedules. And really open it up to a few questions until I get cut off. My friend in the back over here.
Okay, first of all, that truck, do you know what the fine was for that person or people that sold it? Did they go to jail? Did they have to pay $100,000?
Oh, the fire.
I don't know. We could use the money in San Jose. Maybe we should look into increasing
I
that.
didn't know about the truck, it was, but since you mentioned it, that you have to go after those people first, also, not just first.
Yeah, no, that's true. But I'm sorry, I don't have the information on what the fine is. Really, the whole fine, we never get into the price of fines, whether any ticket that we write, because we just don't have that knowledge. There's a lot of mathematics that go into the building of the fine, and so we never get into what that cost
So, but then you
is.
mentioned 311. I didn't call, well, I wasn't here, but last year I didn't call 311 on July 4th because they don't answer it. There's no prioritization. And then I'm getting very sarcastic. I've said it to a few people. If I brought home a newborn baby on the 3rd of July, or if my grandmother was dying of cancer in the bedroom, do I bring them to the middle of the house, maybe a bathroom, so they cannot hear the noise? Because it's not just the roof that could start a fire, which I'm scared of, but it really is bad for people to hear those explosions. And I want this to get more priority. And I don't know how many, on the 4th of July, how many murders were there and how many violent crimes and all that, because we always hear it's low priority, but you have to make us priority, regular citizens.
Yeah, that is a good point.
Whatever the fire chief said, that's what we have to do. We can't do that.
Yeah, and it is a priority. It is a potentially dangerous situation, but if we put some fireworks up against someone that's getting assaulted or someone that's currently burglarizing a house, we will respond to that first, just because the mathematical potential is that that's our policy, that someone could become injured. Doesn't mean that we aren't concerned about it. And I don't want to rehash what we were talking about. I know we talked a lot about fireworks. So go ahead, you have another question?
So the academies that you guys are bringing out?
Yes.
You guys are bringing on so many people, and I know you guys have been losing a lot of people. Is that tapering off, or are you guys still having that turnover rate, or?
You know what? I think we're somewhere around resignations about maybe average about 4 a month. But we are hiring a little bit. We're hiring more than that 40. But I'm giving you that 40 number because we lose some in the academy that don't meet our expectations, and we lose some in the FTO program that don't meet our expectations. So even though we start out with between 50 and 60, we really end up with about 40 candidates that meet our qualifications. So really about 80 a year. And if you say, hey, if you're losing 5 a month and you go by 12 months, we're making a little bit of progress, not a lot. So really, the key becomes, and my hope is that we're able to resolve some of the financial issues that allow officers to be able to stay within San Jose, and I think the city council is really moving in that direction right now.
Is that how you guys feel? I mean, I know that pressure you guys are feeling, is that starting to kind of lighten up a bit, or?
All I can do is I can tell you what I hear from city council members and what Xavier basically told you today. You heard him himself, so I don't want to speak for anybody else. You heard exactly what Xavier said. It's extremely important to him. And so the question is, what will they do? We're not sure. That's really out of my control. I certainly hope that it happens. How are we doing on time?
Thank you so much, Mr.
We're out of time.
All right,
Thank you. That was very informative. Deputy Chief, Mr. Jeff Marlin. Next up, we have, please give a round of applause to Lieutenant Drew Vasquez from the Santa Clara County Sheriff Department.
Hello. On behalf of Sheriff Laurie Smith, thank you for inviting us to attend the meeting tonight. I too have the same exact questions that the captain had addressed earlier, so I'll go ahead and read those off and address them as according to our jurisdictions. Gotta use my cheaters and pick up their name. So what do the police, fire, and sheriff see as the public safety concern? And again, to echo, I think you read my sheet here, because the priority is life and property. Now I'll kind of tell you about our jurisdiction, the unincorporated area. Our crimes of late have been domestic violence, residential burglaries, and vehicle burglaries. Those are the top ones in our jurisdictions, and I can tell you that those have slightly declined within the last couple of months, because on July 1st of this year, we did make an arrest of 4 suspects entering a home, and our detective bureau is currently working on other cases that may be associated to those cases. So we're 4 apprehended, and we couldn't have done it without the citizens of the county, because like the captain had said, you're the ones who help us catch the criminals, because you see things. If you see things out there that are suspicious, or vehicles that are suspicious, then call. By all means, call, because we'll go out there, we'll make contact with either the citizen or the people involved, and we'll try to find out what's going on. In this case, it was a 2-story residence. A female had taken a ladder, entered a little wing window upstairs, I think through the bathroom, and had gone inside. Citizen calls us, we get out there, the girl is walking out of the house. As the deputy's approaching, there's another gentleman in a red vehicle, honks his horn 4 times and takes off. We kind of abandoned her. She tried to run away. Our guys apprehended her. They put a BOL out, be on the lookout for the vehicle. Deputies swarmed into the area, found the vehicle parked in somebody's driveway. They went out there, made contact, and so on and so on. It ended up being that they were involved in the burglary and some other burglaries within that area. So hats off to the citizens for helping us out with that. As far as the vehicle burglaries, they seem to have tapered off a bit. They were a little bit higher in the month of January, I'm not quite sure, but then they slowly declined. And what we're doing to address those are just picking up and targeting those primary areas of concern with our deputies out there. So they are aware of what's going on out there, and they are taking an active enforcement on it. Why is it so difficult for the city, county to take a definitive stand on the use of illegal fireworks? I think we beat that horse quite a bit tonight. But I can tell you that in our Cambrian area, we did have a big issue. We did do some target enforcing, and we did find the culprit over there, and he was arrested. I believe he was cited. I'm not sure if he was booked or not, but he was cited. Fireworks confiscated. So I think the problem with the 4th of July is that the volume is so high. Like the captain from San Jose had said, we're responding to loud parties, loud music complaints, drunk drivers, block parties, all kinds of different concerns, along with fireworks calls. Now what's happening is you're hearing these loud booms, you're seeing these bottle rockets go up, but from our standpoint, we can never get a person to say, gentleman over here is possessing those illegal fireworks, we want him arrested. We're not getting that. All we are getting are fireworks, firecrackers reported in this neighborhood. We drive to the area, if we see it, we'll take action on it. But by the time they see a marked patrol car come down there, everybody stops, hides, and runs away. So I won't address that anymore because it sounds like the fire chief addressed it, sounds Zay's addressed it. But I think overall, we have to get together as law enforcement, public safety entities, and address these concerns before New Year's Eve and so on. What can residents do to have motorists slow down while driving in neighborhoods where the speed is posted? In the unincorporated areas, we don't have that much of a traffic concern that I'm aware of. I haven't heard too much. If you live in those areas, we encourage you to call the sheriff's office and we'll find out what areas those are. And we can send a deputy out there, whether he's report writing, shooting radar. We can take some type of proactive stance on that. We can also work with the CHP because the CHP is actually responsible for those areas when there's a collision or chronic speeders down the street. We can contact them, work with them, and kind of come up with an idea of how to attack that. Somebody else came up with an idea that, if you see these speeders in their cars, take a picture of their license plate, we can go out, make contact with those people and address it.
Could you hold the mic closer?
What can we do to help us? We all encourage you to take proactive measures. And speaking from a home standpoint, if you don't have an alarm system, I encourage you to get an alarm system. If you don't have the money to afford an alarm system, there's signs. There are preventative measures you can do, and normally that's addressed by our Neighborhood Watch program. So if you live in those unincorporated areas and you can get a group together, we can go ahead and set up a community resource officer or a deputy to go out there, have a little meeting, and address those issues as far as preventative measures. I can tell you on an alarm call, the captain said 98% of theirs are false alarms. I don't have a percentage for you, but I can tell you this. If a criminal hears an alarm, they're out of there because people look outside. So it's a great deterrent. If you have pets, dogs, great deterrent. I mean, there are ways to prevent and keep your house and your family safe. So if you're interested in that Neighborhood Watch program and you live in the unincorporated areas, please contact us and we'll help you set that up. What will it take to improve response time to home alarm incidents? Our response time, we just pulled the logs yesterday or today with County Com, and our response time is roughly 7 minutes. And I think that's a pretty good response time. Most of the alarms are false, but like we talked about, if the alarm goes off, people leave. We respond to all alarm calls, and we do a perimeter check to make sure nobody has broken into your home, that there's no open windows. If you find something like that, we call additional resources, and we handle it as such. Our response times are really, because unincorporated areas are so spread out, if we have a call off of the area of Mount Hamilton, our response time from down here to up there may be about 10, 12 minutes, depending on where the deputies are. If it's in the Elm Rock area off of Llama or something, our response time is probably going to be a couple of minutes or so. So I think we're pretty good about responding to alarms. Like I said, it's a 2-unit response minimum for us, and we go to all alarm calls, all 911 calls. What are stopgap measures that can possibly be implemented to address the non-emergency issues in the community? They have 311 for San Jose, and our number for non-emergency numbers is 299-2311. That's 299-2311, and that'll go to County Communications. In general, what can be done to reduce crime? We talked about that with the community. We have to get involved. It's very rare that we drive down a street and see somebody burglarizing a car, entering a home. It's very rare. It's the citizens of the county, the citizens of the city that report these things. That's how we get our units there and we address the issues. So all I can do is encourage you to keep doing what you're doing out there because you help us out a ton. Are there any questions? right, thank you.
Could you work together with the city police? I mean, do you have extra officers when they're short and they can't respond? Could you step in?
Yeah.
Well, we absolutely do, and
How do you
I was working jointly with Lieutenant Costa back here from San Jose PD. They had a mini riot at a residence, and they called for additional resources, and we ended up responding and helping them out with that. So we had our helicopter as a resource out there. You know, we had a video hooked up to it, so the lieutenant and I could position our people accordingly, and yeah, it's not a problem.
Do we call you, or do we call the city, San Jose PD?
Well, I think it's gonna depend on the type of event, and if they have the resources, they're gonna handle it. If we have the resources, we're gonna handle it. But we've used San Jose, we've used Santa Clara, Sunnyvale, so we do work in partnership with these other police agencies.
I'd like to compliment your department because I've tried to talk to officers before. San Jose, for some reason, are all too busy. They have a real attitude problem. And your people, I've talked to them 3 or 4 times about cars that have been abandoned and stuff. And I'd just like to tell you, they're always respectful. They are helpful. And you have a much better management. And obviously, the officers seem to be just a lot nicer people to talk to. I just want to let you know.
Okay, thank you, sir.
And your name, sir?
Drew Vasquez. Yes, sir. Thank you.